Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Industry Talk. I'm your host, Barry, and today I'm joined by very special guests from Physicality Games, Bill Swartz, the CEO, and David Bruno, the marketing manager.
Howdy.
Now,
Thank you for having us.
Of course, David is, just for everybody listening or watching, he is the all-knowing brains of Physicality Games. Therefore, he does all the work. So
Don't put me into that bus. That's too much weight.
Oh, nope, it's already out there. It's on the internet. That means it's true. For you listening or watching, this is actually a very special episode of Industry Talk. This episode is in two places at the same time. We have the audio version over with the Switch Mania Playcast, where it's listenable everywhere that the Switch Mania Playcast is. And we also have the video version. So if you're watching the video, cool. You have us on YouTube on NintendoFuse's YouTube channel. So thank you guys for being on this very special episode where you get two places at the same time. So first, before we get into physicality, let's let the listeners get to know you guys. What are your backgrounds in games and the industry and all that?
First off, as you said, my name's Bill and I'm a Leo.
This isn't a dating site,
Oh, gosh damn it. I got to keep my Tinder. No. So games, I mean, I'm 55 and it's pretty much everything I've ever done since 1987. Real short biography. I entered a speech contest senior year of college. As a result of that, I met the guys from Koei, which is, Dynasty Warriors. At the time, it was 27 people. I happened to speak Japanese, so I ended up getting hired by them. I went to Japan. I was kind of the producer on what became Legend of the Three Kingdoms, or Romance of the Three Kingdoms, and Nobunaga's Ambition, which was great. It was just an incredible experience. From there, I helped set up Koei America, which was really a good example of better lucky than smart. It was a great place to be. It was an incredible adventure. From there, I went to Activision. I was at Activision for 12 years, ran Activision in Japan, where we did a ton of stuff, but probably the title that most people would remember from that era was Tenchu.
Yes.
Live by honor, kill by stealth. That was an incredible game, and it was an incredible ride. Left Activision in 2001, I guess. Started a company called Mastiff, which was great. I've been running that for going on 20 years. Very lucky I get to work with my friends, of whom I definitely count David. Decided last year that Mastiff as a publisher developer is great and it's fun, and we like making games. The thing about Mastiff structurally, though, is what we did is make a game, put it in a box, either ship that box to a wholesaler or to a large retail account, Walmart, GameStop, Best Buy, whoever, and then they sell it to a customer, and that was kind of the end of the relationship. Similarly online, although we were selling and still are, through XBLA and PSN and the eShop, also in a way it's the same kind of thing. I mean, you're putting your games on the storefront and then the storefront is selling it. And although we are incredibly blessed to be part of that, and same thing for Steam. Well, Steam is a little different, something similar for Steam. And although, it's a blessing to be part of that, and we're really happy that we could do it and we are doing it, we also thought it'd be fun to have a direct customer relationship. And that was really the impetus behind starting Physicality Games. We looked around at this sort of, physical exclusive storefront model and said, okay, what's going on here? And it was a pretty short but pretty heartfelt list of things. There are some players in the arena who are not known for giving good customer service, who don't really produce a relationship. It's like, here's my game, take it, next, please. We didn't want to do that. We thought that gaming is all about joy. And we looked around and we said, okay, great. Well, what should we be doing with this joy? And the answer is kind of sharing it. And that's where we came up with the Physicality Gives concept, which is, 1% of any eligible purchase goes to charity. And by the way, we're partnered with another company that produces an incredible donation engine. So pretty much any registered charity in the country, you can search for and donate and have us donate to on your behalf. So we do have, charities we spotlight, but if you have something you feel passionate about, it might be, the East Albuquerque Animal Rescue Foundation or whatever it is. If it's legitimately declared as a charity, chances are you can choose it when you order from the drop-down menu, and we will donate on your behalf. And then another value that we think is really sort of core to gaming, and is what you're all about, I think, is community. And so we worked extremely hard to build community functionality into the site. So you set up a profile, you explain what games you like, and this is where it gets interesting, you get to do two things. One is you get to follow other people with similar interests. So, if you follow John Superman 76 and he just bought X, well, there's a good chance you also want X. So that's kind of cool. But, frankly, that's what Netflix does. That's what a lot of people do. It's, called collaborative filtration. The other thing that our community site allows you to do, which I think is actually a bigger deal, and I'd love to see adapted more widely, is act as what I call the gamer's calling card. So if you're a gamer, chances are you're active on, pick a number, 3, 4, 7 platforms. You're probably on Facebook, you're almost certainly on Twitter, you're probably on Twitch, you may well be on YouTube. I'm going to say you're probably not on Mixer much longer, but you're going to be around. But there's really no good way to share that. I mean, you meet someone on Twitch, and it's like, great, you're my Twitch buddy. You might eventually exchange Twitter handles, or you might not. But it's very, very hit or miss. What we do is offer a single place where you can put all your information. Here are my 6 handles, here are my 6 gamer tags, whatever, and share them very easily. And by the way, that's got nothing to do with actually buying anything in our store. That's a separate section. That's kind of like you go to McDonald's and there's a free playground. And you're invited to get on all the swings and have as much fun as you want. So anyway, that is probably a long answer to a short question, but that is more or less Physicality.
That is definitely an amazing answer. I'm sorry for you, David. You got to follow that up.
Yeah, right.
Which for David will be easy.
No, I kind of started out in retail, working as assistant manager at Funko Land. I kind of knew I wanted to be in gaming at some capacity. So I stumbled into a gig at Sony, working for their 989, 919 buildings, Foster City as QA. Worked on a ton of fun games at the time where QA was a lot easier and a lot more manageable when online testing wasn't so dominated by, just crazy intricacies and playtesting, every aspect of online capability. So this was like the Jack and Daxter 2, Sly Cooper, SOCOM days, when I think SOCOM was like the only thing we had to test online, which I'll get to that in another time discussion. But that was just infinitely fun when you're sitting in a bay of testers and you can all just like screen sheet and find out where other players are when they walk over your dead body and just be like, oh yeah, he's over behind the barrels, and you just kill some random player and they're wondering how the hell you found them. So I worked at Sony for a while, left there as an assistant lead working on Siren and the iToy games, Anti-Grav. And then kind of stumbled into a office manager role at Reverb Communications, which is a PR marketing agency. It was working on a little game called Guitar Hero at the time. So got my feet wet there and climbed the rungs up to PR manager, boomeranged back down to the Bay Area from the Sierras, where I had stumbled onto another agency. I'm from the Bay Area originally in California. So it was nice to get back down to the area, and I realized that there was an agency that was handling a lot of SNK Playmore titles, and I hold SNK, close to heart, like a lot of gamers do for some obscure reason. They just, love SNK titles, and I was one of those people. And turns out that the PR agency that represented SNK Playmore at the time was in the Bay Area, like really close to where I went to high school. I'm sure if you did a little digging, you could probably find it. So I went worked for them for several years. That's where I had met Bill and Mastiff. I think they were just wrapping up the Goodman PSP campaign when I jumped on board. And Bill and I kind of founded a relationship, started working on a lot of different titles together, from like Shimano Extreme Fishing on Wii to Major League Eating on WiiWare to what else? All the hunting games, Deer Drive, Moon from Jewel. I'm sure you know Jules, a Renegade Kid, and or now a Tui. So worked on a bevy of titles. Kind of bounced to San Diego for a bit to work with Psyonix's team, and back up to the Bay Area again, worked for Sega for a bit, and then worked with a very predominant visual novel publisher. I was speaking about visual novels earlier, for Steam, for about a year. They just cranked out the visual novels. I mean, at last count, I was with them for about a year. And we had released, I think it was like a visual novel. So I think it was like 56 visual novels. No, I'm sorry, 26 or so in a year. And so, multiply that times how many weeks there are in a year. It's like a title released every other week. So trying to do PR for that was just nuts.
Time to breathe.
Yeah, absolutely none. You're just like, you're cannibalizing your sales by, just machine gunning these titles out. So that was a little stressful, but, it was doable for the most part. Frantic, but doable. And at that point, Bill had approached me with Goodman 3D. So we rekindled that relationship, and we I think it was a solid, it was a pretty solid hit for eShop. And last count, I think we had something close to like 100 reviews online for Goodman 3D, so it was a pretty good title for us. Then kind of moved that into Home Sweet Home and Party Planet and Arcade Islands and another Heavy Fire entry, and been just making sure that the games are getting the attention they deserve and that they're always active on sales. And then we kind of took a step back and looked at what could we do differently in the outside of the traditional publishing model, like Bill was saying, and that's kind of how Physicality came to be. And I personally, kind of being a gamer, consumer, customer, whatever you want to call me, it's like I just kind of got tired of the whole fear of missing out model. I was trying to get games, and they were tough crap. Like you got to go to eBay to buy this game if you want it, just because I wasn't looking at my computer at X time of day or this week or whatever, too busy with life. And being an adult sucks sometimes. So you miss out on a game. It's like, that's not fair. So we took a look at that, and then how can we improve upon this? What do we want to do? What do we believe in? And I think that all boiled down to, like Bill was saying, it boiled down to charity, community, kindness, just being a human, listening to people, addressing their needs and concerns. And you're not going to get everything right 100% of the time, and that's when you have to kind of take a step back and say, yeah, you know what, we are human. We're willing to make a change. We're willing to make a fix. And I think with Physicality, we are effectively doing that. We are listening to people's concerns. And when we opened up earlier this year in our kind of like our soft launch phase, the site wasn't perfect. We could have, turned this into a George Lucas director's cut of a movie and just kept on changing and changing and changing and changing. And, we weren't ready. But, at some point, you kind of have to pull the curtain back. So we did that. We listened to feedback. And then I think last month, at the end of last month or the end of May, is kind of when we came out with our, the grand opening, and we pretty much tried to listen to everything everyone was saying, and implemented that into our model, into the site.
Absolutely. Yeah, when you guys came onto the scene, first off, it is already a very crowded waters, so to speak. There's a lot of limited companies, and like you said, that the fear of missing out and waiting at the specific time. And I was part of that crowd. I was there. I was sitting there ready to go. F4. It was very stressful. So when you guys came onto the scene, you guys, your first model, you had the pre-order bar. And like when that went live, I was there right away, got everything, and I was waiting, and it was a little disheartening to watch that bar not move as fast as I was hoping it would. And a lot of people, unfortunately, we've had people like warned collectors where we've lost money. So a lot of people started getting skeptical, and that's one thing I've noticed, that you guys have listened to fans. You've come out there, and I do think some people were still confused about the message. And I still, to this day, I'm trying to talk to other people, like just on Facebook or on Twitter, and they're a little confused, and I try to kind of help them out when I see it. But let's talk about that. Your original opening, your soft opening, you had the bars. Now your grand opening, you have a new system where it's $5 down to pre-order, and that's it. And then when the games are coming out, you will send an invoice. What made you switch this? Was this something fans did? Did you just look at like GameStop where they have the $5 down? And how was that switch? Like,
Well, let me sort of speak to that super quickly. And
yeah.
so first off, I would say there's actually sort of two separate conversations there.
Okay.
So start with the first one, which is the business model. The initial idea was obviously, well, people are pre-ordering, we should get the amount of the order, and then when we ship, great. And what we realized was, one, it was taking a while to bring in orders, and you can't ask people to wait forever.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, we wanted the site to be as accessible as humanly possible. And, and especially things, well, maybe they're improving, maybe they aren't. This is a uniquely hard time in the American experience, or certainly you have to go way back to find a time as tough as this. And it just struck us that asking someone to put down, $39, $69, whatever it was, and a lot of people order multiple games, so multiple of that amount for a game that, they're not going to get immediately. Although there are plenty of people that did it, there are probably also plenty of people who would have loved to order a game. It's like, look, I'm sorry, I lost my job. Or I haven't lost my job now, but God knows what's going to happen in a month or two. This is a luxury. I just don't feel good about it. And it's like, you know what? Fine, that's actually pretty reasonable. So we decided the thing to do to make this stuff as accessible to as many people as possible was, instead of asking for prepayment, just to take a small deposit so we know you're serious. And that was just that's partly, if you want to call it kindness, it's kindness, but really just the intention was to open it up and to make it as easy as possible. And then for the second point, the bar. So what we decided to do was go granular. There's certainly a school of thought that says no one wants too much information. I mean, there's a reason why people say TMI, and it was like, oh my God, TMI, I don't want to deal with it. And, we respect that, and that's fine. So if you don't want to know the details, you don't have to. But there's also a pretty good cadre of super fans out there who want to hyper stock their products. What corner of the warehouse is the box in? Is it still the northwest corner? Why don't you move to the southeast corner? It's closer to the loading dock. Is it on the loading dock yet? Is it on the concrete strip or just like the asphalt part? And so for those people, and because we happen to have an internal product management system that made this fairly easy to do, we basically opened up our internal systems. So it's not just that this game is, 50% ordered or whatever it is. If you go to the status section, and it's not too hard to find, there's a link at the bottom of the page. It's not like in neon, but just go to production status. We not only show where we are on orders, but we should show where we are in each and every component. I'm happy to say for each and every component, where we are is final and approved. But as we start working on new games, there being brand new games that are going to start appearing that may not be that way. But it means if you are one of these fans and you're really interested and you want to know, is a blow-in card done? Has the blow-in card been approved by Nintendo? Has it been color corrected? Whatever. All of this stuff for budding game anthropologists / production geeks is there. And I guess the other meaning it has is radical transparency. What you were saying earlier, the fact is there have been some less than good players in this space. And while I think most people out there who sort of follow this stuff closely, again, the sort of hyper fans, know who we are. I mean, the fact is, you Google my name, you Google David's names, you Google some other people's names. It's like, okay, these guys have been around the industry for a while. And if you read the very little fan commentary there is, it's pretty positive. But there are other people out there like, yeah, I've heard about this. Wasn't there this company that whatever? And to make people feel better, we felt being as transparent as humanly possible was a way to do it. And I think it's kind of worked. I think at this point, on the one hand, people are understandably impatient. I mean, they'd like to see us get enough orders and ship the games, and I don't blame them. Although then again, we did a bunch of market surveys before we started this, and most of the what we would call Intuit core audience has waited more than 12 months for a game. So, waiting 2 months, 3 months is hardly out of the realm. But the fact is, I wish we could just hand it to them. but we can't. But in the meantime, we can give them each and every move we're making.
Yeah, and I will say that like a lot of the, Bree fields a lot of the social aspects of the site and the company and the customer service emails. And some of the emails she'll send me, like just touting our communication skills, or somebody thanking us for being so transparent about things. Those little things like just totally make my day. And it's like, that just tells me that we are making somewhat of a difference, that even if we can't just immediately ship somebody a game, that, at least our effectiveness, or at least we're being somewhat effective in terms of communicating. And I think the production status page is just that too. To go back to the pre-order progress bar, in concept and in theory, it was a lot more gamified when we first kind of launched. I idealized it or theorized about this bar. It looked actually a little bit more video gamey too. It looked like a Mega Man life bar, or like a Ninja Gaiden life bar, and it was going to be really cool. And somehow evolved into this arrow meter thing that just kind of didn't really have the same life or appeal. And then, of course, it's when it's not moving as fast as you want it to move, then it just looks like you're checking back and you're looking at things under a microscope. So that's when it doesn't become as fun. And then just the times have been insanely tough. It's just like, you're ready to launch. You spend 15 months working on the site, getting the titles done, getting the cover sheets approved, getting the steelbook art done, the tins approved. I mean, like just getting the collector's tins. I mean, those are something I feel like haven't gotten, in my personal opinion, haven't gotten the attention they've deserved, because how hard it was to fight and get those actually approved by Nintendo and ESRB. Like, I won't even get into that. That was just crazy hard. But they're kind of like showcase pieces. I mean, some people were giving us a little pushback and feedback, like, I don't need this crap. It's just too big, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, yet those same people are, willing to buy all these different crazy variation size boxes. And it's like, well, that's not going to fit on your shelf either. So it's just like, I kind of stood by these. And when you see a game, actually, give me a second.
We're getting a visual representation over here.
Yeah, so, I did a little printout. Oh, damn, I don't know if this is going to work. There we go.
Oh,
so when you see a game actually in it, and this is just a mock-up box in a case, but when you see a game in it, it just looks like a lot more fun and complete. And, it's just a nice display piece, and they're all unified size. So one of the challenges is, like, how do you also come up with cool stuff to put into the box that's going to be a unified size to sit on your shelf? So, there's a lot that goes into all this stuff. So spending the last 15 months just coming up with all these little different parts and moving pieces from a small company with, publishing experience, though, has been I will say it's been a learning experience, and it's been challenging, but it's also been pretty fun. I couldn't ask for better, more communicative partners, working with Mebius, working with Digerati and Blue Wizard, like on Slayaway Camp and Arc System Works, who I have nothing but respect for. Just having Guilty Gear, launching with Guilty Gear was just amazing, and I think that was one of the first things that a lot of the doubters said. They're like, "Holy crap! Who are these people that have Guilty Gear? What?" So that was really cool, and it is nice to see the community really rallying around Guilty Gear and pushing that one, and especially Rolling Gunner. We have a few, like a handful of just like super hardcore dedicated Rolling Gunner fans out there on Twitter for sure, and I couldn't ask for better fans than that. And I don't know if you saw it, I made like a little special acrylic keychain, Rolling Gunner keychain for them, and mailed the few hardcore players out there a little thank you, like a personal thank you. So the fans who are supporting us, who understand what we're trying to do, I have an insane amount of respect for, and it's really cool to see them just kind of championing and pushing you on. So that makes like getting up, sitting behind my computer, all day, all night worthwhile. It really does.
Well, I think that's something that's very unique in this whole field is the collector's editions. Like you said, different sizes, different shapes. What do they have? What makes yours unique? And the tin is one of those things that absolutely makes yours unique. And it looks great. I hate to say I'm one of those people that will most likely put the tin in a box because I don't have the room to store it, on the shelf.
It's total. And that's one of the things we listen to feedback. And it's like, we don't need to be selling the tins, with them. So now it's, we separated those out. So if somebody just wants the game, totally, totally cool. You can buy the 10 separately if you want. The deluxe edition will come with it. It's not like it's a fixture. It's like you don't have to display it as a part of the game. But it's just it's a nice little have.
Absolutely. And there's other people out there that'll be like, that is going right up on my wall. And I think that's why one of the things that makes this whole, industry so cool is that everybody collects differently and everybody has, their own choices of what they want to display. So yeah, your deluxe editions by far look amazing. So we obviously were talked a little bit about the social environment and then the world environment right now, how it is very difficult. And obviously we talked about the bar, which it's almost like a Kickstarter. It's like people, I want to kickstart that, but I want to kickstart it after it's funded. It's a catch-22. I want to get the Physicality game, but I want the bar to be full or almost full. I'll wait until then. So it's really, really a tough thing. But outside of those two aspects, what would you say is probably your biggest hurdle as a startup company? You've been in the industry for a long time, but Physicality is a newer company. What would you say has been the absolute biggest thing you've had to contend with outside of COVID and the bar?
Well, I think the bar is sort of shorthand for exactly what we've had to contend with, which is to say, I think it's shorthand for awareness. We have great games. I think we have a compelling product. It's just that outside a real core audience, I don't think enough people know who we are yet.
So market awareness.
Yeah, I would have to say so too. I mean, there are very passionate, like the Switch core and everyone. It's the most passionate, cool group on the planet of collectors.
It's true. That is very true.
But you also look at how many. Then you see press releases and such go out like 50,000 or 50 million Switch units sold. It's like, where the hell are the rest of these people? You have to ask yourself, like, what are we doing wrong? Are we doing something wrong? Do I smell? Like, am I smelling it? What the hell? So
haven't invented that.
Yeah, I do think it does come down to a bit of market awareness too. Are the games new? A Rolling Gunner. That's probably also another reason why Rolling Gunner has so much attention. Is it's a relatively new title. I mean, Mebius just ported this to the Switch late last year, so it does have a little bit of life in it. The Guilty Gear title has been released in PAL and physical. It has been released in Japan and Asian territories physical. So is there a mad rush to get it? Not necessarily. Was there something that I thought we could do differently for an NTSC, or I'm sorry, a North American release? Oh, for sure. And that's why all of our deluxe editions are include steelbooks, for instance. Like the steelbooks, I'm a big fan of steelbooks. I love steelbooks. So that's one of the things. Yeah, and then little known to us at the time that when we talked to our partners about steelbooks and yada yada, that the approval process for those isn't as straightforward. I'll keep it like that. Keep it very, very high level and say the approval process for that is not as easy or straightforward as you would think. So that was another challenge too. But with our deluxe editions, I always like to make sure that everything included is well thought out. Isn't something that's just a folded up poster or a sticker sheet. It's like I'm not 12. I'm not going through Nintendo Power, a Game Informer, and doing like the perforated tear out poster that I'm gonna hang in my my basement. It's like I want something cool and that isn't just an afterthought. And that's why a lot of the stuff in our deluxe editions is pretty premium stuff. It's not just a sticker sheet or a poster or a postcard or whatever. It's it's hard to describe what the Rolling Gunner kinetic art frame is, but it's like a flat snow globe if you think about it. It's not spherical, so it's hard to come up with a name for it. So I think Bill coined the kinetic action frame or whatever. So it's like a shoot 'em up snow globe. So there's a bunch of bullets inside, and you can swap out the boss pictures on the back, and the rolling gun and the stork is like printed on the front of it. So you have like a three-dimensional kind of a visual. So it's just like a lot of this stuff really went into thought and depth over the last X amount of months on what can we do that's cool and unique, and like for Guilty Gear doing the steelbook with and then doing the anniversary, the commemorative medal, which I think is freaking huge. Like I think it's 6 centimeters or something.
Yeah, it's major.
It's not like a quarter size or like the collector's coins that other companies are doing. It's like a big medal. and it celebrates, the Guilty Gear's 20th anniversary and Arc System Works' 30th anniversary. And I felt it was a nice piece to have in the collection. So
we also splurged, and the whole thing is sandblasted, which is like the most expensive process you can do. But if you feel it, you'll. Are you a Pulp Fiction fan?
I mean, I've seen the movie a long time ago.
Well, when you shoot it, you'll know where the extra money went.
There we go. Yeah, it's like some of that stuff just looks incredible, and you have 3 games ready on the site. I do know that you are teasing a 4th game. Some fans, from what I've heard, are wondering about that. Why are they teasing a 4th game when the first 3 aren't even out yet? Can you give me a little bit of insight of why now? Why did you choose now to talk about the 4th game as opposed to waiting until at least one of the 3, get out to market, people can see it and go, oh my God, look at what Physicality can do. Because I think once one gets out there, it'll like a snowball effect.
Well, we share a similar mindset then. That's exactly what I'm thinking too, because you do see, and I see it every day scrolling on Twitter when somebody gets like, here's my new pickups or here's my March haul or whatever, and people are taking pictures of physical products, and that has a ripple effect. That has when you're doing unboxings for influencers, when you're sending out copies for press, that definitely carries more weight than just sending out a key, for sure. If we have a couple of the titles, Rolling Gunner and Guilty Gear, that are approaching their manufacturer goals, but then you have another month or 2 before manufacturing actually gets in the hands of these people. So it's like, do you wait that long before you refresh your site and build up some more interest? And to me, it's also your partners are waiting, but it's a PR bump. It's a marketing beat. So can you drive more interest, add some more products to the site, and build a little more interest? It's like, yeah, totally. And be it game, or there are other products that are coming to the site that are non-game. So like I think we announced that we have a Rolling Gunner T-shirt coming, and I'm absolutely in love with the design one of our artists came up with. And I will tell you right now, exclusive, that it's kind of like a schematic design. So if you ever looked at any of those old Star Wars books that shows like the cross sections or like the wireframe. It's exactly that of the Rolling Gun and Stork with like details. So like I went back to when I saw this design, it was just literally just the wireframe designs of the Rolling Gun and Stork, and then I was just like, wait a second. I was like, this reminds me of like those what are those auto books called? I forgot. Anyway, you always walk into an auto store, those parts books. It breaks down like, every
fuse.
Every little piece. So I was like, oh my God, let's I guarantee you that Mebius and Project Rolling Gunner team have like detailed information about the ship and all this stuff. And sure enough, like I just asked them for a few little like, hey, like what's the wingspan? What's what kind of engines? And they sent me back just this laundry list of like maximum takeoff weight, like I was like unloaded weight, blah blah blah, maximum velocity. I was like, holy crap, this is two more than I asked for, but. We found a good medium, and so it's like got the detailed information on the shirt about like the Rolling Gun and the Stork, and it looks really kick-ass. So it's just you want to keep the site alive, make the site feel living, and it's like you don't want to if things are going a bit slower than you like, it's why let it just kind of sail on by itself without any updates. I mean, you can only talk about the same 3 games for so long.
Well, I would put that whole thing in one other sort of set of terms, which is we went out and, before we went live, we kind of over-prepared for this thing and put together a pretty long catalog. So we have a good handful of games in reserve. And the internal debate we had was, okay, how many games can you put on the site without overwhelming your audience? And, we landed on 3, and that was probably not a bad number. But at this point, people have seen the games. The people who've come to the site already have obviously come to the site. So we felt like adding another game now and then maybe another game pretty soon after that, you're not overwhelming people because they've had a chance to get used to those first 3 games.
Yeah, I hear you. That makes sense. Because I know a lot of people are just really, really antsy to get at their hands on these games, myself included. They're all great titles. But here's the big but. What if you could get one game now? These are great titles. You got some fantastic titles. But if one developer can come to you right now and say, Physicality Games, we want you to put out a physical copy of our game. Doesn't matter. It could be any. What would it be? What would be your dream project if you can do?
Old Konami stuff, maybe?
Ooh.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Just I've seen people ask time and time again for like the shoot 'em up collection from Konami and their Contra collection and the I think I forgot the other one was called, like Action or something. Yeah, but those 3 collections would just be stellar to get. Though for attention's sake, I'm gonna have to say Scott Pilgrim. Like
Of course.
everybody in the world has been asking for that game. It's a decent title, but I think it's just the hype now is just that. It's just hype.
I had fun.
But probably, I might have to agree with Bill in my heart of hearts. Like, I love those Konami collections, and that would be really cool to get those for sure. Though I'd also love, if Square would do something with it. I would love to get some older Square titles made. Like, God, if we could get a reprint of Einhander, I would be a very happy camper. I'm sure a lot of people would too.
You can go ahead and get the Grandia HD 1 and 2 collection.
Yeah, that's true too. There you go.
I know a lot of people would love that physical, myself included.
I'm sure that's probably locked up already. So, one of the competitors has like 35 games they're announcing soon. So.
Oh well, I guess we'll find out. But there's just a lot of titles.
Yeah, it's like picking your favorite kid.
It really is. But those are definitely some good answers for sure. Now, the games that are available right now for pre-order, you got Rolling Gunner, you've got the Guilty Gear 20th anniversary, and you've got Slayaway Camp. All those are for the Switch, and Slayaway Camp is also on the PS4. You've got the digital, you got the deluxe. You got the regular. They're priced very fairly: $29.99 to $34.99 for the regular, and $59.99 to $64.99 for the deluxe. Very fair pricing. Definitely could have gone higher. So I'm personally happy. Are you seeing more on the deluxe side? Because like I'll tell you right now, personally, I went with the deluxe. I went for the deluxe because I'm a Switchbook or a Steelbook collector. So if there's a Steelbook, I'm going to go for it. So that was the hook for me. Some people it's a tin, some people it's the other goodies. Or are you seeing more go with the regular? Because I know like Guilty Gear originally was only a deluxe, and then you announced, hey, we're listening to the fans. Here's a regular, and I saw a lot of people like, oh, now I'm going to jump on it now that there's a regular. What are you seeing more in terms of production?
I think it varies day by day. Yeah, I mean, it's within, probably 20%. I don't remember if it's 40% regular, 60% deluxe, or vice versa. But it's pretty close to even money.
That's good.
I wouldn't steer too far from that either. It's a really, I was almost going to go 50-50 split, but yeah, it does vary. Like one day, it's like a tug of war. One day the deluxe will be in the lead, and the next day, standard editions will be in the lead.
Have you thought about, I know like the tins are separate now as well. Have you thought about putting any of the other deluxe edition stuff as add-ons? So again, like I want the Steelbook, that's my main draw, but I have to buy everything to get that. Like I know there's all other people like me as well. Like, oh, well, you know what, here's the game. You can get the regular version and you can add on the Steelbook, and you don't have to get the other stuff. Or maybe you want the medal, the Guilty Gear medal. I want that. Or I want the flat snow globe for Rolling Gunner, but you don't want the other stuff. Are you thinking about
art service?
Like an a la carte? Yeah, exactly.
I think the main focus is getting the games manufactured first, and then look into those options later. I will say that a couple of the soundtracks we have lined up, like so for Whispering Willows, which we did announce back in like February. Whispering Willows will be making a return to the site. It was supposed to be one of the launch titles, and then again listening to feedback. It was like, do we launch with 4 titles or 3 titles? And people were just like, whoa, pump the brakes. Let's, scale this back to 3. So, we listened to them, and, Akupara is very gracious and has been a terrific partner. So, they've been very patient, and we're going to put Whispering Willows back up on the site soon. It does include a soundtrack. I mean, none of the items I think are included in the deluxe edition. We've shown the deluxe edition contents, so that one does have a soundtrack also, and so does Rolling Gunner. We thought about selling those separately, when we do have a soundtracks tab on the site, in addition to apparel, collectibles, and other stuff. So there is a future there. for other stuff and to separate some of the things like the soundtracks for sure. As for some of the other key items in the deluxe editions, I mean, I think that's what keeps them unique. So at this time, I won't say that they're going to be separated out, but in the future, maybe it will just be a scaled back or middle ground version where it is just the steel book in the game.
Yeah, and so you just mentioned Whispering Willows. Is that the fourth game you were teasing, or is that actually a fifth game?
That would be the fourth, but the tease would be the fifth.
Oh, all right. So wow. Yeah. So there's a lot of content coming to Physicality Games. That's for sure.
Yeah, including we're preparing to also kind of run a little profile creation giveaway or contest on the social soon. Maybe we can get it up in time tomorrow. I know tomorrow's kind of a holiday, so I don't know about you, but usually when there's a weekend or holiday, I try to avoid social media and sitting behind my monitor. But if we can get it up tomorrow, cool. If not, we'll run it next week. But the community profile stuff that Bill was mentioning earlier, it's largely borrowed or riffed off of, I don't know if you're familiar with Bandcamp, but I'm a massive fan of Bandcamp. I mean, I just love what they've done with their community, where it's like, it's not super robust, but it's also not, it's important. It's still important. And I've discovered a ton of cool music just by following other accounts on there. And you'll get served an email saying like, so-and-so just bought this album, you might be interested in it because you also bought this album that you have in common. So that's the idea, and I hope to flesh out more of the community features later on down the line, and then gamify the site too a bit.
That's really cool. Yeah, I did notice there's the soundtrack and the apparel tabs, and that's really nice that you're branching off into other merchandise too. So since everything happened, you had your soft launch, you have your grand opening. Some people have been very confused. Some people have been wondering and waiting for the bars to fill up. You talked about the 50 million switches. Where are these people? Why aren't they coming to our site? Is there any message that the two of you would like to give to the listeners, to the watchers, depending on where they're viewing this from, to say, why they should go to your website, why they should purchase Physicality Games?
Well, I think. Oh, Bill, you want to take?
Nope. Go ahead.
I was say. Well, I at this point, I think we may have proved that we're not. And I hate using their name, warned, because I just feel so terrible. I mean, I don't know exactly everything in detail that what happened with them. It is unfortunate that they set that precedent for other companies to come. And I do feel there's more room in the space. I mean, I really do. It's like the more the merrier. It's like I'm a big fan of physical media. I mean, if you walked through my downstairs, my front room looks like my game room, looks like my office. There's shit, excuse my language, there's stuff everywhere. I mean, like it's like 80s Toy Central in my office. That's awesome. If you go down to my game room, it's like floor to ceiling games everywhere in this 10 by 10 little room. And if you walk into my living room, it's like DVDs and Blu-rays and horror memorabilia all over the place. So I do feel there's more room for everybody. I feel like that we have earned some people's trust, but we're in it to be friends. We're human. We're approachable. It's like, you have a question, feel free to reach out to us. We love talking with people. I mean, hit me up on Twitter if you want to chat games. If you want a social amplification, I'm happy to retweet you. It's like, I like talking about physical media. I like talking about games. It's something I've ever since I grew up playing like River Raid on Atari. It's been my passion and dream to be in this industry, and it's like, I've been doing so for too long, 15, 16 years. I have a grays in my beard and my hair to prove it, but I do think we've earned some people's trust, and we're in it to make games and make friends.
What about you, Bill?
I don't really have a lot to add. I mean, end of the day, first off, obviously no one needs to buy video games, right? It's a luxury.
Yeah.
But if you love games, you want really quality collector's editions, you want a way to share your community interests with other gamers, and you happen to enjoy certainly the best shmup made recently, arguably the best shmup ever made. You want to be part of gaming history and you like 2D fighting games. If you're a fan of campy movies, check it out. And we would really appreciate your support. This is, going on 2 years of our life. We've put our heart and soul into it. We think we've done something no one else has. And for at least 2 of the games, and I'm not telling you anything that's hidden. I mean, all this is very visible on the production status tab. We're pretty close to shipping. We're getting there. Just a pretty small handful of people would make all the difference.
Yeah, it's very true.
Oh,
yeah, I mean, one of the things that hasn't really been taken advantage of too either. It's like the more people talk about it, the more the pages get shared, the faster we hit these numbers, the faster we're getting to manufacture. So it's we'll continue to push them. And we would ask our fans if you're passionate about a game and you want to see a game get made, please consider sharing the product pages.
Absolutely. Well, for all those fans looking to get into Physicality Games, you can go to PhysicalityGames.com where all the games are purchasable. Again, it's Rolling Gunner, which is excellent. And I want to thank you guys personally. You guys sent us codes. We were able to do a Switch Mania Playcast episode on Rolling Gunner. Awesome. Awesome game. So listen to that, shameless plug. So we have the Guilty Gear 20th anniversary and the Slay Away Camp Butcher's Cut are all available, Switch or PS4 with the Slay Away Camp. You could also go to the Twitter, which is at Physicality Game. There's no S there, so it's just Physicality Game. And you guys are building up a Twitch, which is twitch.tv/Physicality Games. So absolutely give these guys some love because I think they proved it today that they're really in it for the long haul, and they've got the experience to back it up.
And the gray hairs.
And the gray hairs to prove it. Yes.
Old jaded man, I feel like.
Well, Bill and David, it has been an absolute pleasure and honor to just have a little bit of your busy schedule. So thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for your time. It was an honor to be here and an absolute blast.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can't thank you enough for your time and chasing me down to, make this happen.
Yeah, it took a little bit of time to make happen.
Oh my gosh! And then, we have Mastiff rolling at the same time, so we have another game we're looking to announce very soon coming to the Switch eShop, which you might have seen the Japanese version box art.
Oh, yes, Fight Grab.
I'm not going to say anything. You said it.
It looks amazing.
But, so it's like, we have 2 baskets here. It's like the Physicality basket and the Massive basket and then our Japan office. And so there's a lot going on. So I apologize for taking so long to line this up.
You know what? There's a saying, good things are worth the wait, right? Just being able to talk with you has been great. And I'm definitely looking forward to the games when they do come out. So if you're listening to this on the Switch Mania Playcast side, thank you for listening. You can find this on Anchor and all other formats where the Switch Mania Playcast is, all your podcast sites. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can catch all NintendoFuse YouTube stuff like game chats, industry talks like this episode here, our bi-weekly podcast, ton of content. So please follow us there. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day and take care.